My name is Stanley Wanlass, and I'm a creator. My mom tells me that I used to sit on the riverbank and carve cars out of soap bars when I was a kid, and it just never stopped. Automobiles were freedom. So I started building cars, from the hot rods into the sports cars and then into classic cars. I love speed, and I love to have my vehicles look like they're speeding. But I love that period of time in the 30s. To me, that was the golden era. When I was teaching in France, where the carrosseries were the car designers worked. When I was there in the 60s, luckily I took the time to interview these guys, why their cars were so beautiful and why, sitting at the curb, they looked like they were doing 100 miles an hour. I do sculptures of these cars, and I want them to go as fast as they look on the fast side of your Art Deco cars. If I was making a model and doing it so that everything had to be perfect, they're almost as wide as they are long. They look like a dead toad. They're not moving. And I know the track, I know the wheelbase, I know the measurements of the cars, but I have to change things in order that they remain the same. You have to change what your soul is telling you to do to make those cars look like they're going fast. I have to narrow it and lengthen it in order to give the same speed at the top that they have from the side. It's got to be more than a machine. You have to go behind the eyes and behind the surface. Pure exactitude is not art. I have a vision in mind of the end. I always like to have the end in mind. And as I work towards it, it evolves. I have more ideas. I become more familiar with it. By the time I get to the end, it's completely different. Hopefully it's so much more. For example, Rembrandt, he was a master at this in his painting. He would put more light on the areas that he wanted the viewer to see. He could manipulate the viewer to look at the face first or look at one of the hands first by how much he finished for reality, maybe one of the hands. And the other hand would just be suggested down here. And if you wanted you to see the face first, it would have the most light, the most detail, and you could lead the viewer around the picture plane. It's important that you put yourself in situations that you can learn from. I need at least 200 years for what I have to do. I've got so many notes and so many paintings and sculpture that I want to do, and I've got 600 stories that I'm trying to write all at once because I want to get this done before I pass on. And now I found out that it's impossible. I'm increasing my knowledge and my scope, and it keeps getting wider and wider. I keep wanting to bring it together. I'm 84 years old. I can't get all of the sculpture and the painting and the writing done. So I'm going through and trying to scope it down a little bit. Far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered with failure, than to rank with those poor spirits who live in that gray twilight that knows no victory and no defeat. You only have so much time, but you need to do what you can in the time that you have. If you concentrate on truth and beauty, then you might add just a little bit to the positiveness of beauty and truth. My things don't have to be religious, but they have to be spiritual. It has to say truth and beauty are important. Ugliness and hate and revenge have no place in the world. Hopefully when people look at my work, they see something is subjective that I was trying to say, but of course that's not guaranteed. It would be easy to make a sign out of bronze and put my explanation of what this monument means, but I know that maybe I would be cheating them by telling them what I thought it means, and they would have a much better interpretation of it. Because we know very little about other people's lives and their hopes and desires and fears and appetites, all these things that you have and other people have. You can't hope even to satisfy or to impart what you're saying to other people because you don't know how they're going to accept it. I used to disguise myself at some museum shows, and I would sit underneath a painting or a sculpture and listen to what people had to say. Some of them had a much better idea than I did. And so you don't want to limit or to dictate too much to people. Then they don't internalize it. And it can mean something very precious to them. If you tell somebody, now this is what I'm going to teach you today, and this is what I want you to learn, they won't learn that. But if you have an idea up here that you want to share with them, nobody can tell other people what to do or how to live because they have their own pride. But if a professor will swallow their pride, take them up this far away from it, and then give them an assignment, and then they discover it on their own, then they will incorporate it into their own feeling about the information you just gave them. You can't force knowledge or anything else on other people because they thought of it, not you. They thought of it. You leave it open to interpretation by others. Some people buy bronzes just to show that they can afford it or that they own some piece by an important artist. Like the t-shirts they used to wear, he who dies with the most toys wins. It was easy for them to purchase them, but they did it for the wrong reason. I've had a lot of people that could not afford these pieces. They would scrimp and save and make payments, and those are the people I love to sell to because they love them enough that they could sacrifice. When people really participate with the pieces and they love them for the same reason that I do, then that means an awful lot to me. I hide little things in all of my sculptures and paintings, little raisins in the cookies. If people will participate with them long enough, they will understand what I'm trying to say about them. For example, Clark's tree in Washington State on the Discovery Trail, it's a 25-foot tree where Clark wrote his name and where they were from and the date and a little bit of information on there. I figured Clark could write that in the tree, then I could write a message too. So I hid a message in the tree in Latin. No one's been able to find it so far, but it's a message that mankind has asked itself since the beginning of recorded history. But all my pieces, I try to hide something. It's only saved for a few people. It's very satisfying to me because it's kind of like a treasure hunt. My advice to any young person that is aspiring to become a sculptor or painter would be that your second 1,000 drawings or paintings or sculpture will be better than your first 1,000. They have to work. And I found that most people are lazy and they will say, well, I'm not inspired today, so I'll wait till tomorrow. I've got too much going today. But I have put myself into that position a lot and fooled myself because I was lazy. And I found out one truth, and that is, if you work at it, you become creative. You have to say, okay, I'm going to start working. And once you start working again, then you get inspired and you can't stop. These poor excuses for not creating are just that. They're poor excuses. You need to start, then you can't stop. Every person has a responsibility for the next generation and beyond to leave something of beauty and of excellence. But the artist has more responsibility.